the estuaries. Now, there's some other good news here. Because we're just about at the coldest time of the year, the estuary temperatures and the near shore water temperatures are much cooler than the land areas. Water temperatures down into the middle and upper 50s, which means as these systems get toward the water, they'll actually weaken in a big way. Very often we think of water, less friction. Tornadoes, water spouts can maintain themselves. This will do the opposite. Now, I don't want to mislead you. Certainly for boaters, this is still a dangerous overall storm system. But if nothing else, of course, once it gets out over the water, then we're not as concerned about those of us living over land. And we're going to watch this. The reason that coastal Glenn County is under tornado warning is that you can see that the northern extent of that rotation, if that's making it to the ground, could possibly impact you folks right along the island. So we're talking about beyond the causeway, all the way out on the islands in Glenn County, and now to the estuary in Camden County. So as tornado warnings go, this is actually relatively good news that the tornado warning is pretty much for the estuary area. Although, let's go a little farther south, Lee. The Trident submarine, a little farther south if you could. Yeah, so the Trident submarine base is right here. So at least with this potential rotation, St. Mary's, Trident submarine base, Kingsland, Woodbine, the worst is past you. But this is the gust front. It's all along here, this gust front, that even if you don't receive tornadic winds, there are winds of 60 miles per hour, at least potentially. And so there is probably at least a few limbs coming down here and there. Now, hopefully that's not where you are or your homes are. But certainly, at the very least, for anybody in Camden County now, especially along and east of Highway 17. So here's Highway 17, just west of 95. If you're along or east of Highway 17, if you could wait, if you just need to be on the roadways, but if you could wait just about 30 minutes or so, conditions will be dramatically improved. Once the wind shift comes through, and what I mean by a wind shift is until the wind shift happens, winds are strong from the south and southeast. And then the wind shift comes and the winds blow out of the southwest and west. Once that comes through, although it will still be windy into the evening, the overall damage concern will be weakening or lessening tremendously. So Lee has painted the leading edge of the squall line heading offshore. Notice she includes Fernandina. So why don't we do that? Why don't we slide down a little bit so we can see what's happening in Nassau County. So in Nassau County, know that the tornado warning is north of you, and that particular area of concern will stay well to your north. But the wind shift and the potential wind damage with the squall moving through Nassau County as well. Now, remember, we were highlighting Folkestone and the Hilliard area just an hour ago, but you're on the backside of the worst of the winds there. So conditions there will be improving pretty soon. In other words, for those of you that do need to get on the roadways, do need to go someplace for some reason, for those of you from Charlton and Baker County west, conditions improving now. So you're going to have some showers. They're going to be gusty, but the severe threat for those of you in Charlton, so for those of you in Charlton and Clinch and western Baker County, certainly Columbia County, still some showers, but the threat of additional damaging weather has come to an end. On the other hand, for those of you in St. Johns County, southeast of the World Golf Center, on down to St. Augustine, on down to Crescent Beach, on down through Flagler County. For those of you in even Palatka, where technically you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning, it is on the way. Now, while we're here, we're watching the leading edge of the squall line because at the present time, there is a tornado warning in Alachua County. Now, they have their own broadcast station there, and so we tend to not be hyper-focused on what's happening in Alachua County, but of course, we know that a lot of you have students there, and this cell is racing to the east, northeast, at 60 to 80 miles per hour. So, and I don't see a strong signature, but nonetheless, there is a tornado warning for Alachua County, and the strongest portion of that could easily be into southwestern Clay County and or northwestern Putnam County within, notice Waldo and Keystone Heights. So that's easily within about the next 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. Possibly on as far to the north as Middleburg, but I'd even be concerned for those of you in Putnam County. It's encouraging to me that we did not get enough heat preceding these storms, so we don't see sudden updrafts and rotations developing on the leading edge. but that also means that's why if we have any tornadoes, they're going to be rain wrapped, very tough to visually see. And another great reason to have Doppler radar, just to let you know within these massive, I mean, check it out. You can be a forecaster with me. If we didn't have Doppler analysis and you're just looking at this whole solid line of thunderstorms, would Camden and Alachua County necessarily stand out to you? Maybe a little more concentration of lightning here, and that can be a signature, not necessarily in Alachua County, but it's another nice reason to have the Doppler radar, because then we can pick out areas within these strong winds and heavy rains and always dangerous lightning where possibly some tornadoes are within those systems, causing even more significant damage. So here's another way to look at it. Lee continues to check it out. Okay, so although we don't see strong signature of rotation necessarily, maybe here, certainly a strong indication of a wind shift. And it's right along the wind shift where the winds will be highest and enough twisting motion to possibly cause some wind damage. Notice this is east of Brunswick, talking about downtown Brunswick, but now coming onto the islands. So really the worst of the weather you're going to have is within about the next 10 minutes for those of you on the islands in Glenn County. And then for those of you in the estuaries, and there's not a whole lot of you out here, but still we're going to watch it right here. This is northeastern Camden. So again, notice there's Woodbine well off to the west and southwest. Here's I-95 that goes through Camden County. Rainy and windy, no doubt about it, but at least the damaging threat off to the east, and that's going to be moving offshore pretty quickly. So there's a look at Jacksonville. That's so much rain, it's hard to tell where in Jacksonville we're even looking at, but I think it certainly at the very least makes the point that visibilities are down. So that is, okay, so that is from the south side looking toward downtown, and you can't see downtown. It's another reason to potentially, well, why you'd want to stay off the roadways now. And there are bridges there, but you can't see them. And so where the visibilities are lowest, where the winds are highest, are on the highest bridges. So specifically Duval, although I'd love for you to stay off the roadways completely for the next 1 to 2 hours, but the bridges specifically we hope you're not heading toward are the Matthews, the Hart Bridge, and then the Danes Point Bridge. So here, Camden and Glenn County, now does this say a severe thunderstorm warning? Okay, so Camden, we're showing you primarily the severe thunderstorm warnings. This tornado warning continues in effect for Camden and Glenn County, will not last much longer. Maybe for about another 10 or 15 minutes or so. Again, the worst of the weather that you're going to have from this squall is happening right now for those of you in coastal Glenn County and then northeastern Camden County. I'm curious about, if we could lead us just to check out the squall that's presenting the possibility of the tornado down there over Alachua County, because that will be headed. So there's their tornado warning in Alachua County. I don't see a strong signature there, but nonetheless, we're going to respect the tornado warning. And if there's wind damage with this storm, it's probably going to be from right along about Highway 301 through the Gainesville area. So improving out toward Newberry and up toward High Springs. And so that's why what we're really looking at, folks, are those downstream. And this is moving along at 60 to 80 miles per hour. So for those of you, although you're not under the tornado warning, the strongest portion of your storm today is imminent within 5 to 10 minutes. For those of you in Stark and Keystone, and within about 15 minutes in Green Cove Springs, Interlochen right here within about 15 minutes, and then Palatka probably within about 20 to 30 minutes. So again, although the tornado warning for Alachua County, for those of you in especially southern Bradford, in the southern half of Clay County, and in Putnam County, the worst weather this overall system is going to offer you will be imminently for those of you in Keystone on up to Middleburg, and then within about 15 to 30 minutes in Green Cove Springs, and within about 30 to 45 minutes for those of you around Palatka. For those of you farther off to the north, if you're wondering, this cell would probably track about like this. So I do not expect this to cause a problem in Duval, but we're curious, I don't know if I'm going to say anxious, but curious about this particular cell as far will it occasionally show us signatures for rotation into other areas of Clay and especially St. Johns County. Because remember, as this is racing along to the northeast at 60 to 80 miles per hour, at the same time, more stable conditions, that means conditions that are not ripe for tornadoes, they're racing in from the west. So I think this is probably not going to be a concern for Duval, but although the tornado warning is for Alachua County, we're going to continue to watch closely far southeastern Bradford, at least the southern half of Clay, St. Johns, Putnam, and Flagler County as we go through the next 15 minutes, but even maybe the next hour to 90 minutes, especially for those of you that don't even have the rain yet, not the heavy rain yet, talking about St. Augustine on down to Palm Coast. Palatka, the heavy rain and the strongest winds are pretty much right on your doorstep. I know there's a lot of colors here. I don't know, Lee. Okay, we're going to show you St. Mary's, Georgia. Now remember, the worst of this storm has moved through St. Mary's. So we're really showing you this picture for those of you in St. Mary's, not to stress you out, but to say, hopefully we won't get too many reports of any limbs that have come down in beautiful St. Mary's. Certainly rainy and windy, but about the worst weather that you will have had in St. Mary's is pretty much coming to an end. Again, to put in perspective, the live shot we're showing you here's St. Mary's. And notice that is south of the tornado warning, but also now west of where probably the strongest winds are. Probably the strongest wind gusts extend right about like this. Is there a way, Lee, just for a few moments, if we can take out the radar, and we're just going to show folks where the tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm warnings are, just because I think, yeah, sometimes it's tough to see the severe thunderstorm warnings, and if we can pull all the way out, I just want to emphasize that although we will continue hyper-focused on the tornado warnings, because within the severe thunderstorm warnings, they are putting out wind damage, I wanted to show you now the solid nature of the severe thunderstorm warnings. If you're west of the severe thunderstorm warnings, that's good news. That means those storms are past you and conditions are improving. If you're east, and we're talking about the beaches, Ponte Vedra on down through St. Augustine and Palm Coast, within moments now, the severe thunderstorm warnings will be issued for you. But I just wanted to show you the solid nature of the severe thunderstorms. And I'll say it again, that we've had numerous reports of damage out to the west of us. As far as I know, the only injuries I've heard of are 2, but those 2 injuries in the Florida Panhandle this morning, as best as we can tell, not from a tornado, but from straight line winds, meaning you don't have to have rotation to still have a tragedy. We think what happened is some straight line winds of over 75 miles per hour blew a tree onto a house that crushed through the roof and then unfortunately caused some injuries. That was in the Florida Panhandle. So solid nature of the severe thunderstorm warnings. Here are our tornado warnings. That's Alachua County. And so we're concerned downstream, we say, over southern Bradford, portions of Clay, and then Putnam County. And then we have the tornado warning that probably, hopefully, will not last too much longer for those of you over northeastern Camden and southeastern Glenn counties. The this pretty much paints as well the about, let's say, 90-minute period of the worst of the weather. And I say that in a sense as a positive. That is, maybe there's a reason you need to get on the road and get something done, or maybe one of your family members do. Even if you're on just the leading edge of this activity, if you can hang out for 90 minutes, conditions will be improving. On the other hand, for those of you from Charlton County through Baker and Union County, within about 30 minutes or so, although there will still be some showers and gusty winds, the dangerous portion will be over for you. Conditions already dramatically improved now, and the concern is pretty much over for those of you from Lake City on up to about Waycross. Okay, thank you, Lee. Let's go back to the radar, and we'll see if we can see anything new developing here. I think one of the things that's helping us, and we saw this with some of the indications of the computer model, was that whereas all of this energy for this morning through about the noon, through about 1 p.m. was organized within one squall line, that computer models seemed to be indicating that as we got deeper into the afternoon and the evening, it would split into 2 different lines, which would mean that not all of the energy focused in one place. And I think that's why we're beginning to see a weakening, and we don't see a dramatic leading edge here. And then another area of heavy rains and winds farther off to the west. So I don't want to mislead you, that implies and really verifies why we have this continuous and solid area of severe thunderstorms. And there's a huge part of me that just wants to say damaging wind warning. I mean, that's really what under this event, that's really what a severe thunderstorm warning means, a damaging wind warning. And of course, we have some lightning as well. So that's still there. But if indeed we're beginning to see sort of the energy not be quite as focused, that would help us as far as a decrease in the frequency of tornadoes. Maybe a little bit of positive there. So notice just about all the counties being named now as far as severe thunderstorm warnings. The counties that are now being dropped, that's good news. So for those of you in Columbia County, for those of you in Ware County, for those of you in Pierce and Brantley counties, even the severe thunderstorms are over. So although you're going to have showers and gusty winds, the threat coming to an end. Okay, we're shaving. Okay, notice now Camden County is now no longer under the tornado warning. I know technically this says that it is, but I support, we call this a polygon. Is that correctly that Camden's out?
Yes, so
Okay.
it's just Glen now. It's for St. Simon's Island and Sea Island. At 3 o'clock, a waterspout was confirmed offshore over St. Simon's Island Village, over St. Simon's Island, moving northeast at 60 miles an hour.
Okay, so that's some pretty important news that Lee just mentioned. So right on the islands and soon to move offshore, but over the next 5 to 10 minutes, you don't want to head outside and you don't want to be near windows on the coastal areas of Glenn County. And so there's St. Simon's and a little bit of a focus possibly there for the circulation. Again, the ocean is right here. So this is, if it's not already into the ocean, it will be within 5 to 10 minutes. So again, why not play it safe? Stay away from windows. Get into the hallways. There's a lot of folks, a lot of beautiful, beautiful tree canopy there on the islands. Stay away from windows, into the hallways, not in vehicles. Now's the time. Just do it for another 5 or 15 minutes on the islands, just on the islands now of Glenn County. That's probably a pretty good signature there. But again, heading offshore, the fact that it's over the water is good news, not only because it's not over folks, but that is some pretty chilly water. So that's going to help begin to weaken that system as well. But that's probably the strongest signature we have seen, although admittedly, the radar site a little farther away from the Doppler, and so this could be circulation farther above. But anyhow, a waterspout's a waterspout. That certainly indicates winds of at least 60 miles per hour. But this does mean now even the worst of the weather moving through the St. Simon's Island area. I would say if you do have to drive, that once this demarcation, we'll call it, has moved even offshore of the islands, just be aware that even if large trees haven't come down, I would suspect some branches have. There will be debris on the roadways. So the safest thing would be to, if you could, just not get on the roadways over the next hour or two. But if you have to, certainly for those of you in the Brunswick area, conditions rapidly improving. And even now as you cross the causeway to the islands, within about 15 minutes, this storm will be out of here. But again, as Lee mentioned, in case you missed it, Lee, in fact, why don't you share, Lee, what you've read there?
There was a confirmed waterspout that was spotted over St. Simon's Island Village, and it's moving to the northeast at 60 miles an hour, so it is moving offshore now, but it was a confirmed waterspout right over St. Simon's Island.
Okay, and so 60 miles an hour, folks, so that means it's moving a mile a minute, and so within 5 minutes, it will be offshore. I mean, when I say offshore, I mean, of course, waterspout was over the water, but what I mean offshore is it'll be out over the ocean with no one else left out there. Hopefully no one's in their boats out there right now, and that will be heading away. So at least looking at the radar signature, I think probably that concern is now offshore into the ocean, although heavy rains and gusty winds will continue. So again, just another 10 or 15 minutes there on the islands of Glenn County, and your threat should be over.
And there is a correction we just got in. It was not a confirmed waterspout. It was a possible waterspout.
Okay, so that's some good news in that possible waterspout. But again, it all supports the idea, folks, that hopefully these radar indicated tornadoes are not causing catastrophic damage, but that doesn't mean the storms that are causing the potential rotation are not bringing some tree limbs down. I'm sure they are. And it's one of the reasons why I think the worst place you could be right now would be in a moving vehicle within these storms. And to double underline that would be to be in a moving vehicle either where there's a lot of trees and or over some of the higher bridges. Since we're focused on Brunswick, the Sydney Linear Bridge would not be the place to be, although I think even the Sydney Linear Bridge within about 2 hours will be fine. And I'm not saying they're closed at all. I'm just saying that those would be the most dangerous places to be if you're going to be on the road, where there's a dense tree canopy or on some of the higher bridges. As we mentioned, the Sydney Linear in Duval, that would be Danes Point, the Hart, the Matthews Bridge, and we could name some other ones, or we could be positive and say, remember, if you have to be driving around in Duval, if you do, take the lower bridges. That would be the Main Street or the Fuller Warren Bridge. But we clearly have heavy rain in the region. The strongest winds to impact Duval County are just now getting to Highway 301. There's going to be a wind shift here where strong southerly winds becoming southwesterly. So right along this line here, from southern Nassau County through far western Duval, northwestern Clay County. Once that gets through, then conditions will be rapidly improving. In fact, think Highway 301 from Nassau County through Duval, Clay, on down to Bradford. If you're west of Highway 301 now, the trend will be toward not as stormy. If you're east of Highway 301 all the way to the beaches now, this is in Duval County, this is basically now and will continue to be our stormiest, about another hour to go. Same thing for those of you in Clay County, just really beginning to pick up in northern St. Johns County. Think from Ponte Vedra on down to about the World Golf Village to Switzerland. So the northwestern, maybe third of St. Johns County. You're just now getting into the worst. The worst will be into St. Augustine within a few moments. I'm actually surprised you're not under severe thunderstorm warning yet. I suspect you will be soon. That Glenn County until 3:15, that's the tornado warning for Glenn County until 3:15. Yeah, so there you see the demarcation. And then multiple tornado warnings because we also have the tornado warning down over, oh no, we don't anymore. So the tornado warning, is that, I want to get verification from Lee.
Yes, it's canceled.
Okay, so the tornado warning in Glenn County has been canceled. Notice we still have severe thunderstorm warnings. And those, can we pull out just a second, Lee? I think these probably extend all the way down through the Gulf Coast now, is that right? All the way down to Tampa? Not quite. So severe thunderstorm warnings extend down into Marion County, down into the villages. Maybe severe thunderstorm warnings not quite all the way down to Tampa yet, although they're right on the verge. And again, all of these are racing from the west toward the east. Okay, we've been talking about the Danes Point Bridge. Some of it call it the Batman Bridge. And there goes an 18-wheeler. So again, notice the bridge is open. And it's up to the JSO to decide. And so I'm not saying that you shouldn't take the bridge, but certainly I would say if you're wondering which hour of this whole storm system should you not be going over the Dane Point Bridge, I think this would be the riskiest time. I'm glad to see that there's not much traffic on the Danes Point Bridge. I'm also glad to see that it's not quite rush hour yet, but within the next 30 minutes, are when the winds will be strongest over the Danes Point Bridge. Again, it's not just because it's over water, it's because the Danes Point Bridge is so high. Same thing with the Matthews and the Hart. They're just the highest bridges we have. And as we talked about earlier, the given to what's happening in the weather is that as you go higher up into the atmosphere, and not too much higher above where us humans are, as you get up to about 2,000 to 5,000 feet, right now, we know for a fact that winds up there are blowing out of the south and then southwest at about 60 to 80 miles per hour. That's a given. We know that. The big question for forecasters is there enough, we call it convergence, we call it lift, we call it spin, we call it helicity. Is there enough reason for that wind then to be brought down to the ground? That's why you see the solid area of severe thunderstorm warnings, because we know that wind is there. And the question is, where will that occasionally spin on down to the surface? And those are the spots where limbs will come down. Those are the spots where maybe some significant debris could be picked up, could be thrown into or through windows, and those are the storms where potentially some tornadoes can form. So Lee is doing some analysis here, and what you're really seeing here, if nothing else, is, so here's the radar site, and it's showing you the strong flow of winds out of the south and then the south-southwest. So in other words, particles are moving away from the radar site here. And over here, they're moving toward the radar site. But that's why it can get a little bit confusing because then I'll leave it with that. So this paints strong flow out of the south and out of the south-southwest. This, can I see the lightning again, Lee?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I'm just showing.
Okay, so there's the tornado warning. Anything new on that, Lee, as far as you know?
No, but just expires at 3:15, so at least 5 more minutes on this one.
So-
The Alachua County one was expired,
Great.
but they're talking about how that Alachua cell will likely bring 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts to places like Duval next.
Okay, fantastic. So not fantastic that we're going to get 60-mile-per-hour winds, but it's nice to see at least the tornado warnings coming to an end, at least for now. Okay, looking at St. Mary's, and remember, so let's put this in perspective. So we're showing you St. Mary's, obviously raining. I can see the Spanish moss there, not too much blowing around. I don't see too many limbs on the ground there. That's good news. And St. Mary's, the storm is, so there's St. Mary's, and the tornado warning is passed. Now, we talked about the fact that the squall line may be breaking up into 2 separate lines. The first has moved through, but there's still a second line of energy to come. So we'll keep a close watch on that. We haven't seen lately indications of tornadoes on the backside here, but we're going to keep a close watch on that. So there will still, I think, could be, if not gusts to 70, maybe gusts to 60 miles per hour with this area over western Camden, western Nassau County, into western Duval County, and then at least timing out that it should be all the way to the coast within the next 30 to 45 minutes. So at the very least, and again, because these systems are moving quickly, it's one of the reasons that they can have strong winds. On the other hand, if for some reason you just have to get on the road, know that pretty rapidly improving conditions as far as danger from the west to the east. So Duval, Nassau, Camden, and Glenn counties, if you can hang on till 4 o'clock, I think at least you can say, well, the worst is over if you have to get out there on the roadway. It's going to take longer, of course, for St. John's down around St. Augustine, where it's just now beginning. Certainly longer down in Flagler County. The worst it has to offer. So really mark this last line of deep red that you see that goes through western, southern Glenn, western Camden, western Nassau County, far western Duval, moving out of Bradford into western Clay County, and then far northwestern Putnam County. And notice this line extends all the way down, and the severe thunderstorm warnings extend all the way along it. But at the present time, we still have the 1 tornado warning, and that was because of a potential, well, initially it was because of rotation indicated by radar, and then potentially a waterspout. But we do think that has moved offshore. Since it's still there, Lee, you want to zoom in again with velocity just to see if we can verify that that signature is moving offshore, and it's probably, up in here, and then racing off to the northeast. But certainly, that's a great motion. Notice, and it's tough to see, folks, and that's good. That means that maybe the rotation is making to the ground, maybe it's not, but certainly moving to the northeast rapidly. And this line here, that's the beach. And this is over the ocean. And that's going to continue to move away over the ocean. Still gusty winds and heavy rains, but that's a pretty good signature of what could have produced the waterspout, what initially caused the tornado warning way back here when it was down over northeastern Camden County, and it's tracked right about like this, and then heading off to the northeast. And you can see, I think, not only the signature of the potential rotation, but you can see how the gust front has now fanned out and offshore. That's good news. So although gusty winds west of it, that's where I think the primary threat would be, at least for Glenn County. Now, if we slide down a little bit, Lee, we'll see that then things become a little bit iffier, because we have that gust front still maybe right on the coast in Camden County. And then as we slide on down, we still have a pretty significant wind shift coming in through now. So they're going to paint this as the wind shift, potentially some wind damage. So past Folkestone, right about over Hilliard, going to get to about I-95 in Nassau County. And then not quite as sharp of a demarcation, but still right about Highway 301 in Duval County. So for those of you along Highway 301 in Duval County, either you have within the last few moments, or you right now are receiving about the strongest wind gusts you're going to get with this system. and it's just now getting into northwestern Clay, right along Highway 301 in Bradford County, probably past Stark, and now getting into way southeastern Bradford County.
Uh-oh.
And
Lightning strike.
we may have just had a...
I think they can still hear us, though.
Okay. So we are on a severe thunderstorm warning, and we may have lost visual. Now we're back.
Good update, though. It's
Yes.
3:15, so the tornado warning has been expired.
Okay, that was almost the dramatic symbol. So the tornado warnings are no longer in effect. We're going to go back to regular programming, but hopefully visually you see that we're dealing with the worst that this storm has to offer in the most populated parts of the First Coast, as far as Nassau, Duval, Clay, spreading over St. Johns County, and then for other First Coast counties as well, Putnam, soon into Flagler County, and then improving conditions farther off to the west, although still some showers and some thunderstorms. So we're going to wrap it up for now.
Oh.
We'll continue to have updates for you through the afternoon and the evening.
Wait,
and
we might have a tornado warning coming in.
we're checking out.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, it's outside of our coverage area.
Okay,
Just something that we'll keep
so
an
for
eye
now
on.
we're going to wrap up, and but we'll be here through the afternoon. I think even for you, there's the other tornado warning. Now that is now south of Alachua County. That's over Marion County, and showing no signs, at least right now, of getting into Putnam. But we'll keep a close watch on that, and we'll keep you updated through the afternoon.
This has been a severe weather update from the First Coast News Weather Team. Download the First Coast News app for live weather updates anytime.